and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be going through viral books from 2023 and telling you what I think about them. I'm going to be telling you if I think they're worth it, if they lived up to the hype, and if I recommend them. I want to start off with Checkmate because this is just the most recent viral book that I've read. This is a Ali Hazelwood YA romance. It came out recently. I will say that it lived up to the hype. I have read 3 Ali Hazelwood books. Actually, there's another one that's on this list. This was so good. This was amazing. My expectations were like blown out of the water. Like I thought that I would like it because I like rivals to lovers and they're like chess players in the book and they are like chess rivals. I just like wanted to keep reading the book. Like I didn't want to put it down. I feel like it just kept getting interesting. Like there weren't like lulls. There was the third act breakup, which I know sometimes can be more frustrating than others. I was kind of bummed when it happened, but then I feel like it ended up being really beneficial and it wasn't like for no reason. The character needed to go through like some mental roadblocks, and then once they got there, everything was good. This is one of my favorite YA romances I've ever read, so definitely worth the hype. I recommend it. This is a series that I'm pretty positive didn't come out this year because there's like 4 books, but I added this one to this because this is a YA murder mystery by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Also wrote The Inheritance Games. It's like a really popular book series by her. So this one came out kind of a while ago, but this got so big this year. Like I've been seeing it all over social media, and I will say this one is also 100% worth it. Like every single book that I've read so far from the series, and I've read 3 of them. Wait, have I read? No, I've only read 2, but I'm on the 3rd one. They've been 5 stars. It's perfect because I love like murder mysteries when they're not too scary, so YA is great. Even though still late at night, I do still get a little scared by these books, but it's like it's not enough to make you want to stop reading them because they're just so interesting and so well written to like keep you entertained. It could maybe even like get you into the genre if you don't read many of these. There's also a love triangle in it that's pretty good. Yours truly. This is a romance about 2 people who work like in the ER. I remember it making me laugh a lot. It is super heartwarming and just like it feels so sweet. The only thing is like looking back past all the romances I've read, this one is not quite as memorable as like a lot of the other ones that I've read. So for that, I think I gave it 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. I feel like if I were to re-rate it, I would give it like a 4.5 or something. I do remember getting bored like once, twice in it, but at the same time, I would still recommend it to someone. Like I think it was really, really good. And just getting bored like once, twice for a little bit is not really that big of a deal to me, as long as like the story, the plot, the characters, and in this case like the romance is worth it. Say You Swear is a college sports romance, and it's like a football romance. There's like a friend group who have been friends for a super long time. Oh my gosh, this is a long book. I feel like so many phases of life happen and like so many life experiences for these characters happen in this book, but it feels like it shouldn't be lasting that long. Like it feels like the story shouldn't be that long. It's just so much more of a like serious book than I thought it would be. One of the girls it like really follows. She's like the main character, and she goes through so much in this book. At the core of it, it's like a romance and there's a little bit of a love triangle. I did not love this love triangle. My opinion from since I read this one has really changed a lot because okay, the story made me feel so much, and for that, like when I was done reading it, I was like, wow, I just went through so much with those characters. And the romance, like on one of the romances, I really actually liked that one. That one was really good, so I think I gave it like a 4 stars or something like that. I think now I would give this one like a 3 stars if I were to go back, which is like, it's always hard for me to read a book that like has made me cry and be like giving it as anything less than like at least like 4.5, but this one, I don't know, I think it's worth it if you like the genre. It's so worth it because it was, even like me not liking certain things about it, I do think it was good. I feel like I was really into reading it, like it was like easy to keep on reading. But would I read it again if I had never read it for the first time? Like would I recommend it to myself again? And I think I would rather read like a different book than this one. So I feel like this one wasn't worth the hype for me. Happy Place by Emily Henry. Happy Place was so different from her other books for me. I feel like it read almost like just a fiction book. I felt like it was a romance as well, but I feel like it was like towing the line where I feel like usually in most of her books it just feels more like a romance. This one especially had a lot of character growth, and that I both loved, and I think it made the book better, and then sometimes it bored me. I was even considering this possibly being my favorite Emily Henry book, which it is one of my favorites for sure. That being said, I kind of just love all of them. This one, I felt like I had to a little bit get through the beginning, but then it was so worth it. Like it was so good. definitely worth the hype and I would recommend it. It follows like a group of friends, but it mainly follows like one girl who she was with this guy from the friend group and they all kind of moved away from each other, but then her and this guy, they're still together and they were like engaged to be married. They all come back for a vacation together, but they all come back and she doesn't realize that the guy that she was with in the friend group also was there. They're pretending to be together. So it's fake dating, but it's also second chance. And then there's also like an undercurrent of what's your happy place? What does it mean to be happy? It was very beautiful and I cried and it was amazing. This one, I'll just say right off the bat, it's worth it. It's an adult fantasy and it's enemies to lovers, vampires. The guy and like everyone else in the book that I remember was a vampire, but then the girl in it is a human because she was taken when she was way younger. She was adopted by her dad, which happens to be the vampire king. She's like an heir to the throne, but to prove herself, she competes in this thing where all the vampires compete in and they try to survive. So of course there ends up being a romance between this guy who's like enemies to lovers, vampires, but he like starts off, he wants to be like her ally. So they ally together. I really like this book. I didn't see the plot twist coming. I felt like it was just like a really good time, a really good read. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. There were like 1 or 2 times where it got a little bit boring, but it was still worth it. I think it's definitely worth the hype. If you like that type of thing, you will love this book. The 7-Year Slip. It's written by Ashley Poston and she wrote The Dead Romantics, which I loved that book so much. I think that was in my like waking up early to read video. That book was amazing. So I was really excited for this one. This one I think I might have liked even better, if not the same. I also find this one kind of hard to explain like the plot of it. It has like a little bit of magic in it. It's like an apartment that can go back in 7 years to where someone from like 7 years ago and someone from today could meet in this apartment. But then when they go outside the apartment, the other person's not there and they're back in like their current time. But then they can go back and they see each other again and they don't know how long that's gonna last. The romance happens in that apartment and then when she's in the real world, it's 7 years later for the guy who's in that apartment. So it's kind of like a messed up timeline romance, and so that kind of makes it second chance. It's not like anything else I've read. The thing that it's most like is the other book by her. So far out of all of like the romances I've talked about, this one and Checkmate are the best. Like this one is so good. They're really good in different ways though, but I just was thinking about how much I love this one. It's sweet and a little funny, witty. It's really cute and just like feels kind of magical when you're reading it. Definitely worth the hype. Please read this. If you like contemporary romance, please read this. The Right Move. This is a sports romance. This guy's in the NBA and he is the brother of the main girl's friend. She asks her brother if he could please give her a place to stay, her friend a place to stay. The main girl, she needs somewhere to live because otherwise she's gonna have to like leave and stop her job. So he ends up like letting her friend stay in this place, but he's a super closed off person. Like he barely lets anyone inside of his space and he's really reluctant to like have her friends stay with him, and he's not really the nicest to her in the beginning. I really enjoyed this one, like as far as sports romances go too, because like I don't always like sports romances. My favorite ever that I can like think of on the top of my head was from Look Up With Love. I love that one, and they're like Olympic ice skaters. It's so good. But this one was super good. I feel like it's definitely worth it, especially if you like sports romances. I just like really had a good time reading this. The only thing though about this one is that I felt like that thing happened where like once they're together and you're happy for them and you're like, yay, they're together, like there's not much that happened after that, and it was like still a chunk of it was left. So I was pretty bored at the end of it, but the rest of it was really good. I do recommend it, but just like know that that's how the ending is. One Dark Window, it's a duology. The next one is Two Twisted Crowns. This one is worth it. This one is not worth it. The reason why, okay, I really like this one. I thought it was a cool, different concept. I liked like the magic system. I thought the romance was really good, enemies to lovers. It's one of those things where if you want the spooky, dark, romance, fantasy vibe, then I think this one's really good for that. However, I read the second one and it started following a different couple from the found family, or like a different love interest, and it didn't talk about the main two people enough. There's only 2 books. Because it's a duology, I was really hoping to see like a hefty ending to this story, but I felt like I was just given little like scraps of them in this book, and then I was introduced to a new love story that didn't even have enough time to fully get me invested in it. I think Fourth Wing is worth giving it a try. The romance was really addicting in this one. It was just like so much fun. Enemies to lovers, really high stakes, really dramatic, and just like action packed. The main girl in it, it's like an underdog that you're rooting for, and you're just like wanting her to be absolutely amazing, and she ends up being absolutely amazing. So it's just so satisfying in that way. If you like dragons, fantasy books, enemies to lovers, high stakes, all that stuff that I said, then you would like it. Powerless came out this year. I had such a good time reading this. This is probably, out of all of these, this is like one of the most fun times I had reading a fantasy book out of all of these ones. The main part of this one that makes it so interesting is I like the plot. I do like the plot, and I also love the romance so much. It's just such a good romance. It feels like the core of what I love about romantasy. You've got enemies to lovers. Their banter is unmatched. It's a bit funny. It has like that lighthearted humor and like the banter and everything. There's so much tension. There's a little bit of a love triangle, which doesn't really bother me. Like well, actually I do like that part of the love triangle, but I just like never really gave it a chance, because you always know in these types of books, like, you know who they're gonna end up with. Like, this isn't one where you're like, oh, I wonder. Like, it's like, you know from the beginning. So I just don't get attached to the other person if that's the case, and then I'm fine. I'm really excited to read the next one when it comes out, because this romance kept me on the edge of my seat, and I really love the plot. I like how it ended. I was like, oh my god. I feel like I just haven't been this excited about a romantasy romance in so long. It probably actually hasn't been that long, but like it still feels like it. 100% worth it. Give it a try. Another book by Ali Hazelwood, LoveTheoretically. I loved this book. I factually loved this book. It was just so good. Like, the tension, kicking my feet, giggling, having the time of my life reading it. I always have so much fun reading Ali Hazelwood books. Like, I always am having the time of my life. All of Ali Hazelwood's books have like some sort of intellectual side to them. Like, Checkmate was chess. The Love Hypothesis, they're like scientists, science people. This one, they're also science people. I don't get bored. Like, it's not that type of thing to where there's a bunch of talking about it to where you're just like, what's happening? What are they talking about? Like, it's not like that. It's like, it's still really interesting. She's working as, I think she's working as like an adjunct or something. Guys, I don't know these terms, but she's working. She has like a class of students that she teaches. She doesn't make a lot of money, but she's trying to like survive and live. She signs up for this app where she starts to be like a fake dater. Like, she fake dates people. She starts fake dating this guy's brother. Her and the brother are not interested in each other romantically at all, but she just accompanies him to like family get-togethers so that his family will stay off of his back and like stop asking him what's going on and pressuring him. At some of these family events, she meets his brother, Jack, the annoyingly attractive and arrogant older brother of her favorite client. Turns out to be the cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career and undermined her reputation of theorists everywhere. And he is also the one who rules over the physics department, standing right between Elsie and her dream job. So basically, she's caught in a lie because she doesn't realize that they're like in the same field of work, and she's trying to get a job, and he's one of the people who's like trying to help decide. I think he's on like the board. It is such a good book, guys. I just recommend it. 5 stars. So fun. Last but not least, we have another book that I read really recently, A Curse for True Love. This is the 3rd book. I didn't do like a lot of like 2nd, 3rd, 4th books in series, but this one I just thought I would do. I just read it and it's fresh in my mind. This is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I loved all these books. I loved the first one, the second one, I loved this one. If you like YA fantasy and you like the magical fairy tale enemies to lovers, you will like this. What happened in the 2nd book, I didn't know how that was going to work out in this one, but I think that the way that the story was set up, it just made it to where it was like more interesting the entire time. Like, it felt fresh and the pacing was really good. The only thing that I didn't like was there was a character whose POV was in it a little bit too much for my liking. I didn't really care too much about their POV. I liked it like about the same or maybe slightly more than the 1st book, but not as much as the 2nd book. The 2nd book was the best, but this one was also really good. It is definitely a series that I feel like now I will want to do a reread to at one point, because just looking back at all of like the moments that have happened. I really love their story. It is so worth it to read. That is all for the viral books that I read in 2023. If you didn't know, I'm posting a video every single day until December 24th, and I started on the 13th. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more of my videos, and to like this video if you liked it, and I'll put all of my social medias in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.